Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here, back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. Very excited today because we're going to be talking with the Gaurav Passi, who is the CEO and co-founder of Zingly.ai. Now, Zingly, that is an amazing name. Wait, an amazing name. And that is part of how Zingly came up with their name, according to Gaurav. He said, your whole thing is about being amazing. Well, think about this. We wanted to create an amazingly great experience for our customers. So we're going to be talking all about that and much more. First, a quick announcement before we get into the interview. Number one, if you have a story that you want to share, I want to hear it. Number two, if you've got a question out there, please ask. So just go on to any social media channel because I am pretty much everywhere. And if it is a question, use the hashtag AskShep. I'll either answer it in the social channel, I'll answer it on this show, or I answer it in my newsletter, the Shepherd Letter. You can go to hyken.com, HYKEN.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter. While you're there, why don't you check out my annual research, which we give away at no charge. Sign up for it. You get it sent into your inbox immediately, and you will be, an expert in all things customer service and customer experience after you read and memorize all of the stats and facts. All right, enough about that. Let's get into our interview. Gaurav, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Shep. Great to be here.
We have a lot to talk about, and your background. You are a product guy. You develop the products. You understand technology. Prior to starting Zingly.ai, you were with Five9. And did we know each other back then? I don't think we did.
I'm sure we did, and I'm sure we also met maybe at Avaya as well. I was president at Avaya.
Is there anything you haven't done? I'm just kidding.
A lot. I think the way I put myself, Shep, is like, fortunately and unfortunately, my only skill in the world is customer experience, and beyond that, my skill set is pretty darn exhausted.
Well, you and I have the same skill set and the same drive because this is what I live and breathe is customer experience. Now, Zingly.ai, this is a tool that it's AI. It also doesn't cut out the human-to-human interaction. I think if anything, the words that I see popping up on your website is collaborative. I also feel you're pushing customers to try the digital experience, realizing there's something to help if you don't get it. I see you're shaking your head. No, our listeners can't see that. I mean, shaking your head. Yes, excuse me. Our listeners can't see that. But give us like the elevator pitch version of what Zingly.ai does.
Right. I think the net of it is we are some folks who wanted to get together, started the company in 2021 with a simple thinking process that we need to revolutionize customer experience. That's the basis of it. And the biggest piece that we wanted to revolutionize is, if you look at the last 2 decades, Shep, the prime innovation has gone in cloud. And it started with our great Mark Benioff in CRM, and he started the cloud thing, and that led to a CCaaS industry. And the second innovation, I'd say, if you will, is being around agent efficiencies. Great agent-facing, interfaces that came out, served on cloud, maybe a little bit here and there are digital, but those were the 2 major, if you will, innovations that happened. We see that the next 15 to 20 years is very different. We see that the next 15 to 20 years is going to be about the end customer experience. So if you already started seeing, advents of things like, chat GPTs and all that stuff coming out, in essence, it's really an interface that has been put in front of the customer. So that's how we are seeing the world changing towards inversion with the customers. So for Zingly, we are bearer of that torch and making sure we bring collaboration into the game of CX, literally meaning that we're putting customer on the same footing like the rep is, and bringing that transparency, a great interface for the agent, which we call a collaborative space. So at the end of the day, it creates a very persistent, always on collaborative space between a rep and a customer.
Between the
So
rep or the machine?
between the brand, I should say, and the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And for a brand could be represented by machines, a brand could be represented by a agent, brand could be represented by relationship managers, brand could be represented by knowledge workers. It could be anybody. So, and a customer could be represented by me as an individual, could be represented when I want to bring my family into it, because sometimes there are problems that you're dealing in the consumer side that goes beyond yourself. So it's a fun, trustworthy, secure, collaborative space between a brand and a customer.
All right. So you used a big range of time, 15 years, 10 to 15 years, I think you said.
Yep.
And you're saying it's collaboration that includes humans. So many people, as we talk about AI, and consumers don't understand what happens in the contact center world. But do you see AI replacing live agents in that time frame?
I see a different problem in the market. The problem I see, Shep, is that brands are suffering. There's global turmoil going on. We know inflation is where it is. Liquidity is not friendly as it used to be. If you take a big step back, what I notice is that there are about 16 and a half to 17 million call center agents in the world globally, right? But there are about 5.5 billion end customers. So if you look at just that simple math, it comes to clear in mind, like, how can 16.5 million people serve billions of people? So if you take it down that global math to a single brand or a single company, and I have set number of agents, but I obviously will have more customers. So how do I create a viewpoint where I have an infinite scale that I can touch every customer, but I can touch them in a very hyper-personalized way? So that is the problem we see, how to create infinite scale with hyper-personalization. And for that, AI has a role, and it'll play a very, very dynamic role to it to create that infinite scale. But I don't see a world where humans are completely taken out. I don't want to go a full swing of a world where the world comes back to what we did in 2005 and 2010 around deflection, moving people to cheaper channels. I think this is about experience. And a lot of time consumers don't want to talk to a human being. And if I'm just asking a question, getting the answers back, that's the world we've seen. How quickly can I get my answers back? I don't have to research. And when I need to be getting connected to a human being, the tool, the system will be intelligent enough to know now's a good time for me to be connected to a human being.
Yep. And your whole concept of the experience being collaborative means you are putting power to the customer, giving that customer. But and this is not a but in a bad way. To make that happen, we have to make them aware of the power that they have, the power that the company has created by using your product or similar products that would allow them to, take questions and problems into their own hands until they feel they can't anymore.
Absolutely. We are seeing, almost 80 to 90% of some of these issues is simply taken by AI, especially when it comes to, marketing, customer acquisition type of use cases where you're getting qualified as a customer in the acquisition scenario, or you're onboarding. And within the onboarding, I have so many questions that you already have so much collateral on, or especially, product type questions that I have. These are questions that you can easily deflect, if you want to use that term for a second on AI, but it gives you very single, we call it one shot, one kill. You ask me a question, you simply get an answer back. And that's the power you were talking about. When a customer comes in, patience is all time low. I'm asking you a question, you give me an answer back. They thank the brand that I did not have to pick up the phone, call a call center, wait on hold and all this stuff. All I needed was a quick answer and you gave me one.
Yeah. Right now, in that research is now just maybe 6 months old and it changes year to year. But this year, our research indicated that the average consumer in the United States, 70% of the time would rather pick up the phone first. What's interesting is they go to the website to get the phone number, which means they've already gone digital before they go traditional, and they don't realize they're doing it. Conversely, 26% of customers say if you do not offer me a digital option in addition to the phone, I'm not going to consider you. And that is a demographic or an audience of a younger consumer. However, you can see where it's going. I mean, people are getting comfortable and used to the technology. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but one of the reasons why customers tend to still want to go to the phone first is because of the inconsistent experience they have from one brand to the next. One brand does it right, the next one doesn't. And the third time, it's like, gosh, I'm not going to take a chance on the third brand getting it wrong. So I'm just going to go straight to the phone. And it just seems easier. Do you agree with that? Is that what you see out there?
Actually, 100% agree with it. I also agree that, most of the times the experience starts with a website. You will go to Google, you'll type the name, or you have an app of the customer. You go to the website, and typically what do we do on the website? We will click on contact us. That's a known click to action, right? You click on contact us and you will get a bunch of 800 numbers. So that's kind of where the journey starts, and you call the 800 number, and then the usual, IVR kicks in, wait on hold kicks in. We call this thing FORO, FORO.
I was hoping you were going to get to this.
Yeah, which is not FOMO. What it really means is fear of reaching out, because you've given me 800 number. I have a very good understanding of what that means to call a 800 number and what that means in my time that I need to carve out. So that's why people come, to your point, on digital channels like web and app. Now, we are also noticing with our customers that one of our customers gets about 2 million calls a year in their call center. Interestingly, they get about 2.5 million to 3 million people come to their website and apps every month. So that is 10x the traffic. The other thing we found out was about 500,000 to 1 million people every year out of that number that comes to their website and apps ended up calling them on the call center because they never got the answer that they were looking for. And this was an independent study done by a very large SI like Deloitte. Now, that's concerning because those, almost 500 to 1 million people came to a website looking for an answer but never found the answer. The bigger problem is, what about the others who never ended up calling you? People who were the silent ones who either ended up, leaving you because they never got the answer. So we're also concerned about that set of people as well.
And we thought they were happy because they didn't complain or call, which is what I refer to as a dangerous customer. The customer you think is happy.
There's this KPI going around these days called containment, right? And I a lot of times worry about that word containment because there's voice bots coming out and all that good stuff. Is containment meaning that you're happy and your problem was resolved, or containment means that you were deflected and you never ended up calling a call center? So two very different dimensions, exactly your point of happiness and sentiment of the customer you raised.
Yep. Well, this is a perfect time for us to take a break and come back. And when we come back, there's several topics that I want to hit on, the relationship and the new customer experience, how customers are beginning to take control of their communication, several other topics we'll get into. That's what's going to happen when we come back from a break. We're talking with Gaurav Passi. He is the co-founder and CEO of Zingly.ai. This is Amazing Business Radio. Don't go away. One of my favorite sayings is that customer service isn't a department, it's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that must be embraced by everyone in the organization all the time, and that's 24/7. So if customer service is important to you, and I know it is, then you will love our virtual training, the ultimate on-demand customer service and experience training program that you can access anytime, anywhere. Now, the course content applies to everyone, regardless of position and responsibility, from senior executives to the most recently hired and everyone in between. You'll discover tips, ideas, and strategies that won't cost your company a fortune, but will produce what I call moments of magic, those positive experiences, and it will happen at every level of your organization. So go to Customer Service VT. That's V as in virtual, T as in training. That's customerservicevt.com. It's time to get customer focused.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Gaurav Passi, who is the CEO and co-founder of Zingly.ai. We're talking about all things customer experience. I love the last comment, the fear of reaching out, which is what so many customers have for a number of reasons. Number one, they're worried about how long they're going to be on hold, how long it's going to take to get the quick answer that they asked or would like to have answered, and they can't find a way to do it anywhere but to call, which is why more and more companies need to be thinking about alternative solutions to the phone. Obviously, with generative AI being so strong and powerful in the last almost 2 years, I think it's time for a company, and it's also affordable, very affordable. Would you agree? Who is your Zingly's typical customer? How large or small, or is it all different size companies?
All different size companies, but we did something a little bit different than most, companies of our size would do. We started with like very, very large companies. So one of our customers, as an example, is a Fortune 100 company. So we ended up in that direction so that we can scale to that level from the get-go. But our customers are in banking, financial, insurance. They will go to consumer goods, education, healthcare. So we are multi-vertical from that standpoint, anywhere which is kind of where a high number of consumers will come in. We're also serving, interestingly, B2B customers as well.
Great. What would be the smallest support center that you serve? And I'm asking for a reason because, the point is even small companies can afford to do the things that we're talking about today.
That is the idea that, whether you are a Fortune 50 company or you are a, 20 people company, everybody wants one single thing, their end customers to be happy. Exactly the word you used. And how do you enable that scaling? And hyper-personalization is what Zingly is about. So it's not the size of the customer that matters to us at all. It's the motion that they want to take with, customer experience is what's more important to us.
I want to go back to something we were starting to touch on in the first half of our interview. And this has to do with relationships and your customers. For an AI type company that you are, for a technology driven company, I look through your website and I'm reading notes here, you still believe the importance of maintaining the human touch. You don't believe that AI is the final answer. That's what I'm gathering from this.
So it's a combination. There are a lot of times, like I said, one shot, one kill, meaning one question, one answer. AI is the answer. You don't need to go all into it. And as the end customer, I don't want to spend more time than that if I already have my answer. So I think to us, the end all is a very simple thing. The end customer being happy and getting to their answer as quickly as possible. And it's not a transactional thing. It's a long-term relationship building, right? And if you take the second aspect of long-term relationship building, the mission of our company is very simple. How do we help companies build relationships bigger than business? If you start thinking building relationships that are bigger than business, all of a sudden you shift your mind off a single transaction and you start seeing a customer's journey and a bigger play over here, if you will. And if you take that notion, transactionally, maybe I got my answer immediately on an AI, but maybe it's the next time I'm reaching out to you where AI is not going to give me the answer, but we have an engine called relationship.ai that knows exactly when to bring a human into the loop. And that is the most magical component that we have created in the last 3 years. A technology that understands whether, hey, this is a high friction scenario going on, or the sentiment of the customer is not at the right place, or this is a very high value customer. Because not everybody, we talked about 5 billion consumers, not everybody's copy paste same person, right? You and I are so different people. The way we look at things are so different as well. We want to arm companies from that angle. Like, how do you leverage AI? When do you leverage AI? When do you bring actually humans in the loop? And that's exactly what creates that infinite scale and hyper-personalization I talked about.
So this is a most powerful thing that companies need to understand is pushing the customer to try digital first, but giving that not only the customer the out to opt into a human-to-human conversation by opting out of the experience they're in right now that may not be giving them, but also having AI have the capability to recognize based on the customer's reactions to the answers that we've just given them, we need to get them over to a person quickly or we're going to lose this customer. And by the way, I want to come back to that in a second. I could give you the example that I've shared many times on the show. I went to buy a docking station for a computer. The chat bot pops up, "What can I help you with?" And I had a question about the docking station, and the computer comes back to me, or the chat bot comes back to me and says, "Which computer are you buying?" I said, "I'm not buying a computer. I'm buying the docking station. I need to know if the docking station has the cord that I plug into the wall, or do I use the computer cord that on the computer to keep the docking station charged or provide the power." I asked it like 3 different ways, and each time, "Which computer do you want to buy?" It was so frustrating. And then, of course, I get flipped into technical support, and I get the person answering right away, which made me very happy, till they said, "What's your account number?" And I had to look on the bottom of my computer to get the account number, which was kind of crazy, lifting it up and talking to them. And then I thought they were going to open it up and tell me everything I need. And instead, they transferred me to somebody who then asked me what my account number was. So you can see where I'm going with this. But here's where I'm going to go back to what you said. We want our customers to know the word always is involved in being taken care of. So they always take care of me. Sometimes I go through their digital support, whatever they want to call it, their chatbot. I don't know if customers know what to call that digital support, but they have an idea. And sometimes I do that, and sometimes that works. But sometimes I have to talk to an agent. But you know what? They always take care of me. And that word always before anything positive means companies are operating in the zone of amazement. So enough of me. Let me jump in to ask you another question. AI is so rapidly increasing on it's not its capabilities, it's already there, but understanding what the capabilities are. People have said, as much as we think it's great right now, this is a tiny, tiny fraction of what we will see in the future. What do you think that future looks like, and what are the implications for businesses?
So let me go back to a couple of things that you said earlier, and I'll try to weave the answer to this one as well at the same time. So I think one is, you said always, and that's a very, very powerful term. One of our customers, what we are seeing is almost 20 to 25% of interactions are starting after hours. Now imagine in the previous days, after hours, you pick up the phone and you call and says, "Hey, contact me tomorrow, but I have a problem going on right now." Or maybe I was just going on a freeway and I looked at a big billboard on retirement solutions and I need my retirement solution. And 11 o'clock, sitting at a bed, I want to start that thing. This is kind of where the power of AI kicks in immediately, right? You're always actually on and you're starting an interaction. And when you start like that with Zingly, what we have done is everything is persistent, meaning every single touch, the data always stays. So whatever you did today, it's going to last for you for 2 years from now, a day from now, 2 days from now. It never disappears for you. And when the rep comes in next morning, he or she exactly knows what's going on. So that's the first and foremost thing on always on. The other thing, you made such an important point, and that worries me a lot, Shep, is we are coming from a world which was a very human-intensive world, right? I mean, that's what call center world has been about. Especially given where the global environment is, the wars in play, the elections coming in, liquidity where it is, and a generational innovation like Gen AI coming out. The worry is that the moment something like this comes out, because especially with the liquidity pressures, you go towards the other swing, which is like, "Hey, I can go full AI now." And we have met companies who are like going and saying, "I wanted that. My margin, my way is 100% deflection on customer service calls," right? And that's worrisome because they're looking at the KPI of 100% deflection. One of the companies, I asked them, like, "Okay, even if you achieve 100% deflection, can I ask you what will happen to your customer sat?" And the funny answer there was, "Oh, we recently had an outage in a cloud system. And because of that outage, we ended up talking to our customers human to human. And can you imagine that after the outage, our CSAT went up? And why did that happen? Is because there was a human touch needed."
Wow.
So we don't want to go full swing from human intensive systems to 100% deflection. There's tremendous use cases that you want to start, like the after hours I talked about. and so many other use cases in product that you don't have to go that full swing. The key thing over here, I think, is what we at Zingly call safe AI, which is you want to make sure it's built off a RAG system where you're not giving answers to customers that we have seen a lot of issues happening in the industry, that A, are hallucinating, B, it's not a high quality answer, because that's the poor experience. That's something you cannot afford legally. That's something you cannot afford from a compliance standpoint. And in general, that's a bad thing to do to your customer from an experience standpoint. So fundamentally, it's critically important to have safe AI, and that's something we take super, super darn seriously here at Zingly from the get-go when we started to build this engine. So that's, I think, goes back to your question that you asked about AI. That's how we see the AI to be used, in a very safe format, not in a typical format of like, hey, this is an agent-facing AI only, which we have too. But when you put a customer-facing AI and you are having people engage after hours, it becomes even more important. You're going to think from a safety standpoint.
And the point is that so many questions can be answered, problems resolved with AI, that if somebody calls in after hours, a big percentage, probably 75, I think you may have mentioned a percentage, but probably 75 to 80% of it, depending upon the type of business, can be answered with this bot. And forcing them to do so because it's after hours is great. By the way, I love I didn't know where you were going to go with your example, but you said, yeah, it used to be you call in the evening and say, call back tomorrow. And I remember buying a consumer product and trying to put it together, calling in the evening, and they said, call back tomorrow. And I think to myself, wow, the only people that must get help are the unemployed. Because I'm working tomorrow.
That's right. I think the other fun aspect is, if you go back to the usual calling, cloud has done tremendous things to all of us. We know that thing, right? But the challenge is with the end customer again. Whether if I'm calling a brand, they have a cloud contact center, or whether they have a traditional contact center, to the end customer did not matter. They still are calling IVR. They're still doing all that stuff. So from that line of sight, if you think about personalization, I think that's one thing I was talking about. The other thing is to think about infinite scaling, right? In a typical call center environment, I am a rep, I get a call, I talk to you for 20, 30 minutes. And while I'm talking to you for 20, 30 minutes, guess what? There are 30, 50 people waiting on the queue wanting to talk to me, because that's the nature of the voice calling going on. Once I hang up the call, I'll take my call notes, put it in a CRM system, and automatically, after 90 seconds of after call work, another call will come to me. That is where the scale issue was. And it cannot be affordable for any companies given this liquidity pressure. Also, not a good experience, as we have talked about. So what Zingly has done with this persistent thinking and AI thinking, one single rep has scaled so much that any given time, the data we're seeing with our customers, they're able to handle 6 to 10 interactions with the customer at any given time. So all of a sudden, the scale has gone to a very, very different place. That's the power of one question, one answer. That's the power of persistency that gets created. That's the power of true omni, when you have voice, video, calendaring, all that fun stuff sitting in one container, because that enables it, right? And you're using these tools when it's right, not all the time.
Yeah, very powerful. All right. We're not just out of time, we're over time, but I still want to ask, what final piece of advice, information, piece of wisdom that you want to share with us as we wrap up the interview?
Think about, a beautiful mesh of how do you put humans, data, and AI together. And do not over gravitate towards, I want to do 100% deflection. When you will do this beautiful mesh of human, data, and AI together, your CSAT's going to go skyrocketing. Your NPS is going to go great, much like our customers are seeing. And your competitors will be, I want the same thing. How are they doing?
And then they're going to be playing catch up, keep up. And that's exactly what we want our competitors to be doing.
Exactly right.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. I love it. This is why we call it Amazing Interview. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Shep, it was wonderful chatting with you.
You too. Well, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We will be back next week with another great interview. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.